Natasha loved Leningrad, but then so did everyone else. Moscow was the serious city of business and politics, large, grey, solid and domineering. But Leningrad was the opposite, more fun, light-hearted and open-planned. Moscow was old, at least 900 years old, but Leningrad was young, barely a third of that. She and her team went from success to success in their quest for making contacts among foreign visitors, obtaining their personal and business or college details, and audio-visual evidence of compromising assignations. They didn't uncover big secrets, but they helped to build profiles of young people, especially men but also some women, who might come in useful in the future. As her controller kept saying to her, "Today's bright, young, drunken students will be tomorrow's politicians and captains of industry." She was practicing with several cover stories and personas, but she had to be careful not to overstep any marks, even ones she hadn't been told about, so she checked everything with her superiors first. She was well aware that this was her last chance. "I have been told to tell you, Natasha, that as Youriko you may claim to be whoever you please. You can say you're Kazakh, Russian or Japanese. You may also be a student or employed in any nationality. Just don't tell anyone your true purpose, because it would defeat the object." "Thank you, comrade. I would never disclose our operation to anyone, I can promise you that. Were you able to get me a Japanese passport or identity card to complete the disguise?" "I have been told that they will supply you with a document that will pass for a Japanese identity card, but which will not stand up to scrutiny by the Japanese authorities. It will arrive in about 2 weeks. He obviously hadn't known where she had worked and that she would have spotted that, but she didn't mention it. She liked to say that she worked at the Japanese embassy in Moscow or Bonn and was on holiday in Leningrad for a month. It gave her more status with the businessmen who outnumbered the students except in the summer months and were more her age group. They also had more to offer in the short term. Claiming to be Japanese also threw people off their guard. Foreigners were naturally wary of Russians because they could be up to any tricks, which she was. But being Japanese made her an ally automatically. It made it easier to win people's trust. She went out with a businessman from Chicago who told her that the auto engineering firm he worked for was developing a brand new fuel injection system which would revolutionize the internal combustion engine. She stayed with him for the 2 weeks of his trip and passed on details of the company, the main personnel, the chief designer, and the device itself, although it was not a subject she knew anything about. However, that was not important. The information would be studied by experts who did understand, and the company would be investigated, and then if it was thought to be worthwhile, the company could be bought or broken into, or the businessman blackmailed to get more details, or perhaps the chief designer could be encouraged to betray his employers. She didn't know what would happen next and didn't really care. It was out of her hands and none of her business. She only had one goal: to stay out of the camps, and the only way she had of doing that was by pleasing her masters. If people trusted her too easily or talked too much, that was their own lookout. She had problems enough of her own. He was history now. She already had her sights on a journalist who was covering a peace conference in Leningrad. She had been told where he was staying and where he liked to drink and eat, so she just had to be there and get noticed, which she found she could do easily. She had never been all that interested in men before, but she found the company better than loneliness, and Leningrad better than the alternative. In fact, Natasha quite enjoyed her new job, and she was starting to become well known around the hotels, bars and restaurants where foreigners went. She often thought she recognized a knowing look in the eyes of a barman or maître d'hôtel, many of whom were also informants for the KGB, especially in the valuta bars where only foreign currency could be used and Russians were not allowed to go. If they suspected that she was really Soviet, then they would have reported her. But since no action had been taken against her, they were obviously surmising that she was an informer too, one of them, and hence the unexpected smile or knowing look.